Arthur Schopenhauer did not believe in romantic delusions. He called love a trap set by the species, a biological illusion that masks the brutal machinery of nature. And yet, men continue to chase it, blindly, desperately confusing infatuation for intimacy, performance for partnership, and conquest for connection. But here's the dangerous truth Schopenhauer would whisper if he could stand before you now. Most men are not failing because they're unlovable. They're failing because they're unconscious. Unconscious to their motives, unconscious to their insecurities, unconscious to the manipulations they accept as normal. They walk into love with their eyes shut and wonder why they get burned. You want the brutal truth. Most men don't understand women, not because women are complicated, but because men are willfully ignorant. They don't study, they don't listen, they don't observe, and most devastating of all, they don't reflect. Schopenhauer believed that life was fundamentally suffering, and that the only way to reduce that suffering was through detachment from illusion. And yet, modern men drown themselves in illusions, especially in love. They think charm can replace character, that money can replace presence, that dominance can replace depth. It cannot, and the cost of this ignorance is staggering broken marriages, hollow sex, emotional starvation, and the slow rot of self-worth in both partners. You want to know why most men fail with women? Because they mistake validation for victory. They chase female attention like it's oxygen. But what they're really suffocating from is a lack of self-respect. They want to be chosen, not realizing they've never chosen themselves. A woman cannot rescue a man from the mirror he refuses to look into. This is the dark secret that society doesn't want you to hear. Most men are terrified of feminine power, not physical power, emotional power, the ability of a woman to see through the masks, to smell cowardice beneath confidence, to sense when your masculinity is a performance, not a truth. And that's why weak men try to control women, because they can't control themselves. They need her submissive to feel strong. They need her dependent to feel needed. They need her silent to avoid hearing the echo of their own emptiness. But the strong man, the awakened man, he does not fear the wildness of the feminine. He worships it, not as a god, but as a mirror, because he knows that how he treats her is how he treats life. Schopenhauer once wrote that compassion is the basis of morality, but you cannot be compassionate toward a woman if you secretly resent her for having the power to wound you. And that's what many men carry, a buried resentment that says, "You have what I want, and I hate you for making me need it." Let's be clear, this isn't about simping or begging or sacrificing your soul to win approval. This is about transcendence, because women are not here to complete you. They are here to reflect you. If you are insecure, you will attract chaos. If you are bitter, you will attract drama. If you are hollow, you will attract women who echo that emptiness. And you will call it love, but it's not love. It's trauma. Freud would call it repetition compulsion, the unconscious drive to recreate the very wounds we never healed. And this is why so many men are addicted to women who treat them poorly, not because they enjoy the pain, but because the pain is familiar. Here's a shocking warning. No one gives young men. Until you face the mother wound, you will sabotage every relationship you enter. Because you're not dating her, you're dating your past. You don't want her to love you. You want her to heal the boy in you that still feels forgotten. And no woman can carry that burden forever. She will try, especially if she's empathic. She will nurture. She will listen. She will soothe. But eventually, she will collapse. Not because she doesn't love you, but because she can't keep building a castle on the sand of your self-abandonment. Kierkegaard warned that the greatest danger to love is not hatred, but despair. And many men carry despair inside them, like a ticking bomb. It shows up as withdrawal, numbness, rage, overcompensation, the facade of the alpha. But behind that mask is a boy who never learned how to cry. A boy who thinks stoicism means silence when it really means strength through truth. Listen carefully. Women are not the problem. Your ignorance is. Your refusal to evolve. Your addiction to ego. Your obsession with control. And most dangerously, your blindness to your own soul. Marcus Aurelius said, "The soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts." What color is your soul right now? Is it bitter from rejection? Is it poisoned by porn addiction? Is it faded from years of apathy and laziness? Because here's what women crave: a man whose soul burns, with purpose, with presence, with conviction. Not loudness, not bravado, not flexing, but a fire that cannot be bought, borrowed, or faked. Do you have that? If not, then no amount of dating advice will save you. No text game, no pickup lines, no high-value male podcast tips, because you can't game the sacred. You can't manipulate someone into respecting you. You either earn that by how you live, or you don't. And here's what women don't want you to know. Most of them are watching you fail in silence. They're watching you try to impress them with status while starving for depth. They're watching you offer solutions when they just want connection. They're watching you perform masculinity like a man who's never had a father to model the real thing. And some will still give you a chance because they see the gold under your rust. But if you don't rise, they will leave. And they should. Because the feminine is not here to save the masculine. It is here to test it. And you will be tested, not through arguments, through emotional pressure, through moments where she cries and you want to run, through moments where she grows and you feel threatened, through moments where she calls you out and your instinct is to punish instead of listen. In those moments, you are not being attacked. You are being initiated. And most men fail because they don't recognize the test. They think the relationship is falling apart, when in truth, it's trying to wake them up. Confucius said, "When we see men of worth, we should think of equaling them. When we see men of a contrary character, we should turn inwards and examine ourselves." If your relationships keep failing, examine yourself. If you keep attracting the same kind of woman, examine yourself. If you can't handle confrontation, silence, or vulnerability, examine yourself. Because no one is coming to rescue you from yourself. You must become the kind of man who doesn't beg for love, but radiates it. You must become the kind of man who doesn't fear feminine fire because he has built a masculine fortress within. And you must become the kind of man who sees women not as rewards, but as reflections of the life you are living. This is Schopenhauer's brutal warning. Love will not save you. It will expose you. And what it reveals is what you must confront or be destroyed by. Not all women are good for you, but most men never reach the point where they can discern that because they're too busy trying to be liked, admired, or obeyed. The true man doesn't seek submission. He commands reverence by how he lives. Do you understand? Because if you don't, you will keep failing. Again, and again, and again. Not because women are evil, but because you are asleep, and the only cure is awakening. Awakening is not glamorous. It's not some cinematic transformation where you shave your beard, get six-pack abs, and suddenly the world bows to your masculinity. No, awakening is violent, It's internal demolition. It's stripping away everything weak, false inherited, and performative until only the truth remains. And the truth, for most men, is uncomfortable because the average man is a prisoner, not of women, but of his own unexamined mind, shackled by childhood wounds, controlled by lust, addicted to comfort, afraid of depth, terrified of stillness. He performs masculinity like a circus act, loud, predictable, hollow. But masculinity is not performance. It is presence. And presence is earned through pain, through choosing discipline over distraction, through facing the internal chaos with a straight spine and steady breath, through standing still long enough to hear your own inner voice instead of drowning it in dopamine. This is why so few men succeed with women long-term, because women are not fooled by decoration. You can't disguise a fractured man behind expensive shoes and rehearsed confidence. A woman may flirt with your facade, but she will fall in love only with your truth. And truth, my brother, cannot be faked. Epictetus said, "No man is free who is not master of himself." And this is where the conversation turns from women to you. If you are not a master of your impulses, you will be enslaved by them. If you chase women as a drug, they will become your addiction and your destruction. If you pedestalize the feminine while neglecting your own purpose, she will eventually despise you, because no woman wants to mother a man who cannot lead himself. She may tolerate it, she may pity it, but she will not desire it. And when desire dies, the relationship is on life support, whether you admit it or not. Men must return to sovereignty, not domination, sovereignty. The internal kingdom ruled by self-command, guided by conscience, enforced by discipline, and protected by awareness. Because the awakened man no longer asks, "How can I get women to want me?" He asks, "How can I become the kind of man I respect in the mirror?" And from that question, everything changes. Because now you're not chasing connection. You're cultivating alignment. You no longer need her to complete you. You invite her to co-create with you. You don't seduce her with tricks. You magnetize her with truth. This is the man women dream of. Not because he makes them feel safe with words, but because he radiates an unshakable groundedness in who he is. She sees it in the way he listens, in the way he walks into a room without needing to dominate it, in the way he refuses to abandon himself, even for love. This man is rare, and this man is feared by both the mediocre and the manipulative. And here's a dangerous truth you won't hear from mainstream relationship advice. Siki. A woman cannot love you more than you love your own potential. If you abandon your gifts, she will feel it. If you neglect your growth, she will sense it. If you lose your vision, you lose her respect. Women are biologically wired to respond to a man with a trajectory. Not just status, not just wealth, but direction, movement, vision, fire. If you've lost your fire, do not blame her for turning cold. She's responding to your collapse. Marcus Aurelius reminded us to waste no more time arguing what a good man should be. Be one. You want to stop failing with women? Become so deeply rooted in purpose that her love is a bonus, not a lifeline. Build yourself into a man so whole that when she enters your life, it's not to complete you, it's to celebrate you. And if she threatens your peace more than she nurtures your depth, you will have the strength to walk away, not from fear, but from clarity. That's power, not the loud, insecure, scream it on a podcast power, but the quiet, unbreakable internal authority that no one can touch. This is what Schopenhauer tried to tell us beneath all his bitterness, that life will chew you up if you keep chasing illusions. that romantic idealism is a prison, that only through the brutal work of disillusionment can a man finally become free. And in that freedom, you stop chasing women. You start choosing queens, not because of looks, not because of submission, but because she mirrors your soul's velocity. You don't need her to be perfect. You need her to be real. A real woman will challenge you. She will reflect your blind spots. She will call you out, not to hurt you, but to invite you higher. And if you're still a boy in a man's body, you'll run. But if you're a man who's done the work, you'll rise. Rise to meet her. Rise to meet yourself. This is the forgotten wisdom of the ancient world. Plato, Aristotle, Aurelius. They all spoke of virtue, of character, of excellence. But somewhere along the way, we traded wisdom for convenience. We traded initiation for TikTok trends. We traded masculine maturity for fragile bravado. It's time to stop, because here's the final warning. If you do not become the man your soul was designed to be, you will die as a stranger to yourself. And all the women, all the lovers, all the broken romances, they will be nothing more than echoes of a destiny you refused to claim. But you can choose differently, right now, not by learning a new trick, not by finding a better partner, but by facing the war within, with courage, with ruthlessness, with devotion. Because the woman of your dreams is not waiting out there. She is waiting inside you. She will only meet you when you meet you. So awaken, burn, build, and become. The world doesn't need more men pretending to be powerful. It needs men who are anchored in something deeper than ego. Men who don't need to dominate, manipulate, or perform to be respected. It needs men who can stand in front of a woman not as a conqueror, not as a beggar, not as a child, but as a mirror, as a partner, as a force of nature. But that kind of man is forged, not born. Forged in failure, in silence, in solitude, in the quiet hours when no one is watching and the only voice you hear is your own. Most men run from that voice. They bury it under distractions, porn games, empty sex dopamine loops, meaningless hustle. But the man who listens to it, he becomes something lethal, something unshakable. Because the greatest seduction is self-possession. When you are deeply connected to your values, when your integrity cannot be bought, when your energy speaks louder than your words, women feel that. They respond to it in their bones because it's so rare, so unfamiliar, so real. And don't get it twisted. This is not about being a nice guy. This is not about becoming palatable or pleasing. This is not about being liked. This is about becoming undeniable. When you walk into a room, the air changes. Not because you're loud, but because your presence is honest. Because you are awake. Because you are home, inside your body, and your eyes are not hunting, they are seeing. The most dangerous man in the room is not the richest, not the fittest, not the flashiest. It's the man who knows who the fuck he is and refuses to be anything else. This is what Schopenhauer was pointing to in his darkness. He knew life was suffering. He knew desire often leads to delusion. But underneath all of that cynicism was a challenge. Einstein, will you suffer passively, or will you suffer with purpose? Because yes, love will hurt, growth will hurt. Facing your emotional immaturity will wreck you. But nothing will hurt more than becoming a man who looks in the mirror at 50 and realizes he never showed up. Not for his partner, not for his mission, not for himself. Don't let that be your story, because the raw truth is this. She doesn't want you perfect. She wants you present. She doesn't want you emotionless. She wants you real. She doesn't need a king who rules her. She needs a king who sees her. And if you cannot see her, it's because you've never truly looked at you. So go into the fire, not to impress her, not to attract her, but to meet the man you were always meant to be. The man who doesn't lie to himself. The man who doesn't shrink in the face of emotional intensity. The man who doesn't apologize for his masculine edge, but refines it into wisdom. There is no script for this man. There is no 10-step course. There is only the pathless path, the sacred grind of turning your wounds into weapons of awareness. You want a queen, be a king. But understand, kings are not born. They are forged. And their crowns are not made of gold. They are made of scars. Earn yours, because when she comes, and she will come, you'll finally be ready. Not just to keep her, but to honor her, to witness her, to stand beside her, in a love that doesn't just survive, but transforms. And in that moment, you will know you didn't fail with women. You failed with yourself. Until now.